act as law. The bill had two amendments. The first one, amendment number 1, is technical, and the second be 571 with the two amendments.
Floor leader moves for the. Did the senator say two amendments? Senator, did the senator say two amendments?
Yeah, one's technical and one makes it an emergency bill.
Okay, apologies. Questions on the two committee amendments? Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The two committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 571 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 646, Senator Carrozza, alcohol and drug counseling, alcohol and drug trainees, practice through telehealth, favorable.
Chair recognizes the sponsor of the bill as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 646 would permit the permanent allowance of alcohol and drug trainees, ADTs, counselors under supervision to provide services via telehealth after the current public health emergency declarations are lifted. It expressly permits an individual to use telehealth when practicing clinical alcohol and drug counseling without a license or alcohol and drug counseling without certification if the individual is working as a trainee under supervision while fulfilling their experiential or course of study requirements. The bill had unanimous support, and it did not have any amendments, and I ask for a favorable report on Senate Bill 646.
Floor leaders move for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Question on the report. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 646 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Onwards to calendar 20. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 417, Senator Pinsky, Power Plant Research Program Review of Application for Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessity Alterations, favorable with one amendment.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, members of the Senate, before the Public Service Commission can review or consider a new energy initiative, they must have a Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessity, which is done by the Power Plant Review Group under DNR. We've had a number of problems where a number of initiatives, particularly solar in the last couple of years, have taken a very, very long time. And unfortunately, the objective result has been job creation and trying to achieve what Finance Committee passed a couple of years ago, the Clean Energy Jobs Act. It makes it more difficult to fulfill that requirement for moving towards solar. So what this bill does, Senate Bill 417, is established as a 6-month deadline for the Department of the Environment and DNR Natural Resources to move their policy or recommendations to the Public Service Commission. It does allow a safety valve. Public Service Commission can waive the 6-month period of time, and with the amendment, it says they can do it for good cause, which is a lower standard than what was in the bill as it originally came in. That being said, I move the one committee amendment, favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, chair recognizes the senator from the Upper Eastern Shore.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I just lay over the bill under the rules?
Senator's motion is in order. The bill and the amendment will be laid over under the rule. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 616, Senator McCray, Baltimore City Soil Conservation District, authority to establish, favorable.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 35th District.
Thank you, Mr. President. To understand what this bill does, you have to first understand what the soil conservation districts are. Briefly, every county in the state has a soil conservation district. The only place that doesn't have one right now is Baltimore City. So what do soil conservation districts do? They provide technical planning and design assistance for land management decisions and promote an array of best management practices to conserve natural resources. So what this bill does, it authorizes Baltimore City to establish a Baltimore City Soil Conservation District. We hear there was a bill earlier in the week that talked about urban farming. I was glad to sponsor that bill. This kind of plays right in line with that. It's an important thing going forward to have fresh grown food right at the local level. So there were no amendments. This bill passed 11-0 in committee, and I move for adoption of the favorable committee report.
Senator, you used to always say in the 46th District, we have every issue you can imagine except for farming. But in the last couple of years, we've seen this huge explosion of the urban farming movement with Filbert Street Garden, Black Yield Institute. So appreciate their comments there. Senator has moved for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion on the report? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 616 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 676, Senator Edwards, Garrett County Public Schools Virtual Education Days, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 35th District as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. As we all know, with the recent pandemic, that virtual school has become a reality all over the state of Maryland. So this bill kind of plays right into that. It's a Garrett County bill. This bill authorizes the Garrett County Superintendent to order a virtual education day instead of closing a public school in the event of a natural disaster, a civic disaster, or inclement weather. This virtual education must consist of education services that are as close as practicable to in-person educational services. A school implementing this virtual education must make accommodations for students and staff without easy access to the internet. There are 2 committee amendments. The first one makes technical changes to the bill's title, and the second amendment requires that a school implementing a virtual education day must establish a method for sending assignments to students and for students to submit assignments who lack internet access, and also each virtual education day to reduce by 1 day the number of snow days incorporated into the school's calendar. If there are no snow days left, the superintendent may not order a snow day. This passed 11-0 in committee. I would like to move the amendments and request adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. Question on the amendments. Chair recognizes the senator from District 21.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Will the floor leader yield for a question?
Sure.
This is a terrific bill, so I want to start there. I'm all for it. My question is, why do we need the bill? Is there any reason to believe that every county can't do this anyway?
I believe this more or less was established the guidelines, and it's something that we haven't done in the past. I don't believe that came up in that question was brought up in committee, honestly.
Well, the reason I'm concerned about it is it's great for Garrett County, and they do have more snow days than other people do, for sure. But we have snow days in College Park and in Beltsville and in Laurel and in Odenton. And it just seems to me that I love to see Garrett County leading the way, but I just want to be sure that all of our students have this opportunity.
I believe also it helps with the 180-day thing too. So if you can have this approved, that would count. That 1 day would count toward the 180-day. That magic.
No, I understand. No, maybe the chairman of the committee might help us out here as well. I mean, does this mean this would only be available in Garrett County?
Would the floor leader yield?
Yes, I'll.
Senator, may proceed.
Senator, it's a gray area, particularly when it comes to the calendar of 180 days.
Right.
So this clarifies that. Garrett County came to us. Yes, schools can do virtual school. We understand that.
Right. They're doing
But
it.
in terms of the calendar, it's not prohibited. It's not included. So we wanted to clarify that because Garrett County actually, came to us and said, obviously they have a bigger problem than many of us.
Yeah, no, I
in
understand.
terms of weather,
They lead
obviously.
they lead the state in
and
snow.
and so they want to formalize it to reduce days lost to snow and to be very clear with the State Board of Education that it can be waived if they replace it with a formalized kind of accountability.
Is there any reason we shouldn't clarify for the whole state?
Well, other than during the pandemic, it hasn't been an issue, basically.
No, it has been an issue.
Okay. Right. An occasional issue, that's right. Well, I mean, obviously, we're more than happy to look at any bill at any time.
Well, but would you be open to looking at an amendment to just clarify for everybody? I mean, it seems to me that it's the same issue every place.
Well, I mean, if you'd like to lay it over and I can talk to the committee,
great.
We can do that.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, the floor leader.
Senators move to lay the bill over. The motion is in order. The bill and the amendment will be laid over under the rule. Clerk.
Mr. President, just
Yes,
may I just
Senator?
add on one thing? I sponsored a bill last year, very similar to kind of set, it was a statewide bill, so maybe we can look at that and maybe incorporate it.
But fair enough. We'll lay the bill over and have conversations in the interim. I mean, the upcoming day, not the interim. I saw the senator from District 1 about to jump up and throw something. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 683, Senator Kramer, Election Law, Permanent Absentee Ballot List, favorable with 4 amendments.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee as the floor leader.
Well, Mr. President, I'm not sure that was the marching orders to our committee, but we'll take the hint. Mr. President, members of the committee, this is an election bill dealing with the law on permanent absentee ballot list. This issue has come up before. We've sort of been illuminated by the last couple of elections, what happens in both 2 elections. This bill allows for a voter to apply to be placed on a permanent absentee ballot list. And the local board of election must set an absentee ballot to each voter on that permanent absentee ballot list for each election. There are a number of amendments which change the bill somewhat significantly. Amendment 1 is a technical change. Amendment 2 defines the term drop box. We've become familiar with drop boxes. It became a very popular method of returning ballots across the state. It establishes a process for approval. It calls for the board to set criteria as to where they should be. It leaves it in the local board. They must submit that to the state and allows the state to add additional drop boxes if under certain circumstances. It also requires that the outgoing envelope of an absentee ballot sent by mail include a statement requesting the recipient return the ballot if the intended recipient no longer lives there. Amendment 3 deals with a number of issues. We accepted a number of amendments the House adopted on their side, and it says that the board must send the absentee ballot application at least to each voter, every eligible voter at least 60 days before a primary election. On the application, it must also include the opportunity for the recipient to decide what method for receiving the ballot. And it also suggested that sometime after that application is sent, but before the election, a reminder is sent to all those people who chose to receive a ballot by mail to remind them that they did in fact say, we want a ballot by mail, and they were on the permanent list or the list for that election. And then if that gets returned, they would be taken off the list as well. And finally, Amendment 4 calls for a report. You know, over the last election, voting processes have changed. In the primary, I think 96% voted by mail. It was an all-mail ballot, and I think 4% walked up on Election Day. In the general, which went back to you had to request a ballot, 50%, even under those circumstances, 50% asked for a mail ballot, voted by mail, and then the rest either voted early or voted on Election Day. The number of people voting on Election Day has really dropped dramatically. So we want to have some data and knowledge of how these trends develop over the last few years to inform us if we want to change policy in the future. So the Fourth Amendment calls for a report from the State Board of Elections. Mr. President, with that, I would move the 4 committee amendments and favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 4 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, chair recognizes Senator from District 5.
Mr. President, I was going to ask that the bill and the amendments lie over under the rule.
All right, the senator's motion is in order. The bill and the amendments will be laid over under the rule. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 780, Senator Pinsky, State of Emergency, Emergency Procurement and Budget Amendments, Notice and Authorization, favorable with 2 amendments.
Yes, chair recognizes Senator from Howard and Baltimore counties as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 780 requires the governor or the head of a unit to, when authorizing an emergency procurement during the declared state of emergency, to provide specified notice to the Legislative Policy Committee within 72 hours of the execution of the contract or the expenditure of the funds. The bill also requires that the governor provide specified notice to the Legislative Policy Committee and if applicable, the Administrative, Executive, and Legislative Review Committee within 72 hours after suspending the effect of a statute or rule or regulation during a declared state of emergency as authorized by state law. Finally, the bill authorizes that any federal, special, or higher education fund appropriation be increased by the budget amendment upon a specified declaration by the Board of Public Works. There are two committee amendments. The first amendment is technical. The second amendment requires copies of the emergency procurement contract to be submitted to the Legislative Policy Committee only upon request of the committee, and specifies that the committee may request but not be required to request an emergency procurement by the Office of Legislative Audits. Move the two committee amendments in the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the two committee amendments in the favorable committee report. Questions on the two amendments? Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The two committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 780 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 800, Senator Patterson, Inmate Training and Job Act of 2021, favorable with two amendments.
Good bill. Chair recognizes the sponsor of the bill as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, Senate Bill 800 established the Inmate Training and Job Pilot Program with specified institution of post-secondary education to provide educational training opportunities for inmates preceding their release date. I should tell you that Senate Bill 800 grew out of the Senate President Work Group on Equity and Inclusion, and I am so delighted to be a sponsor of said bill. Some general facts as it relates to this population. Maryland ranks number one in terms of lockup of inmates. In 2019, the total inmate intake, 7,556. Of those released was 8,242, 71% Black, African American, and 40% at the age 40 and below. Senate Bill 800 will be administered by Maryland Higher Education Commission, the Maryland Department of Public Safety, the Correctional Service, and our 4 state HBCUs, nonprofits, and the faith community. There were 2 amendments. Number 1 is technical. Number 2 makes the following changes. Requires each enrolled inmate to have access to the internet and other required applications and platforms necessary to participate in the program. The establishment of a safe, reasonable process virtually or in person. Increase the funding and increase the number of participants from 10 to 40. There were no opposition. The committee passed this bill 11-0, and so, Mr. President, I move for adoption. There are 2 amendments and a favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. Question is on the amendments. Chair recognizes the senator from the 34th District on the amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. If the floor leader would yield for a question, please.
Surely.
Senator may proceed.
On the, I think you call it's the second amendment that requires that each inmate have access to the internet and the platforms required by the commission.
Yeah.
Just a question on that piece of it, if I could. So I know the Department of Public Safety and Corrections filed some, put some concerns in that this would be difficult, might raise certain difficulties. Was the resolution to their concerns addressed at all by the committee?
Yes, they were. I personally met with correctional reps, and while they did have some concern, they are running already a similar type program.
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
I said yes, they were taken under consideration. They already have a similar type program. This was just going to be the expansion of that program. So we got back to them, and we had, to my knowledge, no other concern.
As I understood, their concerns that even complying with the program you just mentioned becomes very difficult because the prison walls generally are not conducive to internet connections, and then of course they also have just the regular security concerns with folks inside the DOC communicating freely with people via the internet. Was there any concern or anything in the bill that would address those sorts of concerns?
Well, actually, we brought it up to correction, and I guess the last result, if we find that they don't have it, then we will have to see if they can put them in place. Otherwise, we have to move the program to the other 3 institutions who are ready to take it on.
Okay, thank you. Mr. President, I just ask that the bill amendments lie over under the rules.
All right, the senator's motion is in order. The bill and the amendments will be laid over under the rule.
Thank you.
Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 927, Senator Penske, Institutions of Higher Education Prohibition Against Incentive Payments, Foreign Student Exemption, favorable with 1 amendment.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 33rd District as the floor leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, a few years ago, we were trying to address the problems of for-profit colleges and universities taking advantage of people who would apply for federal student aid, and then they failed to perform in an adequate manner. One of the reasons that this problem occurred is they were paying people to recruit students into their schools. When we shut the door on the recruitment bonus program, we inadvertently had an adverse effect on some of our most important local colleges and universities who recruit students from outside the country, foreign students. They have to have competency in English. They have to have the ability to get through U.S. college and university level studies. And these professional, vetted recruiters were an important part of bringing qualified people to us, and our bill shut them out. So this bill, Senate Bill 927, is designed to conform Maryland law to the federal law and allow our good in-state universities and colleges to pay vetted recruiters to bring qualified students to the United States. The 2 requirements are the students must be residing in a foreign country, and number 2, not eligible to receive federal student assistance, so when they come, they pay the full freight. There was 1 amendment that moved the effective date of the bill from July 1 to June 1, so the schools can take advantage of the recruiting cycle during this past summer. Mr. President, move the favorable committee amendment and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 1 committee amendment and the favorable committee report. Question on the amendment. Any discussion? Chair recognizes the senator from the 21st District on the amendment.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I apologize for getting up twice with the committee today. Will the floor leader yield for a question?
Yes.
Does the current federal law, state law ban paying recruiters for public universities and nonprofit universities and for-profits, for foreign students and domestic students? What's the big picture here?
This bill was designed to put our state universities and colleges on the same playing field they had prior to our law. And I think it affects all colleges and universities uniformly throughout the state of Maryland, whether it's for-profit, not-for-profit, etc.
So if we pass the bill, public and nonprofit universities will be able to pay to recruit foreign students.
Yes.
For-profits will not be able to?
No, they will be able to. The situation we are trying to prevent is recruiters finding U.S. citizens who are qualifying for VA or other federal financial aid and sending them to the online schools which perform so poorly.
Okay, but then under current law and or after this bill passes, will Maryland universities, nonprofit, blah, blah, be able to pay for recruiting of American students or not?
No, not American students. Must be a foreign student. Foreign resident is the term that's in the bill. A student residing in a foreign country.
And is recruitment defined as pay for performance as opposed to hire someone to hand out flyers?
The term in the bill, if I may take just a second, get my eyes, may not choose to pay incentives for recruitment was the,
So it's bonuses. It's pay for performance.
yeah, pay for performance, yeah.
But public universities, private universities, will still be able to pay for recruitment of American students if it's not pay for performance.
No. No, that
Their
hasn't
whole
changed.
Their whole recruiting staffs of colleges. I mean, what are they?
Yeah, but
They recruit all the time.
Recruiting staff for our colleges and universities aren't paid for performance.
That's my question. The distinction is universities will be able to do recruitment as long as they don't pay performance bonuses
Yes.
to the recruiters for
Exactly.
American students.
Yeah.
But they will be able to do it for foreign students.
Yes.
Okay, that just clarifies. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, question on the amendment. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The one committee amendment is adopted. Question now is on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 927 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. All right, we've got keep plowing through EE. Number 21, clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 386, Harford County Senators, Harford County Alcoholic Beverages Assisted Living Program License, favorable with one amendment.
Chair recognizes Senator from Anne Arundel as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Back on March 5th, we had Alcohol Day here in the Senate, where we didn't drink a drop, and we went through most of all of your bills, and so we're going to be reading through these unanimously supported bills. So with that, we're going to start with Harford County Alcohol. This bill establishes a Class ALP Assisted Living Program beer, wine, and liquor license in Harford County. The Harford County Board of License Commissioners may issue the license to a manager of an assisted living program. The annual fee is $5,000. This bill takes effect July 1st, 2021. There was one amendment that decided to decrease the license fee from $5,000 to $3,500. I move the amendment in the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the one committee amendment, the favorable committee report. Any questions on the amendment? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The amendment is adopted. Question on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Any amendments to the bill or the title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 386 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 390, Senator Gallion, Harford County Alcoholic Beverages Gift Basket Permit, favorable with two amendments.
Chair recognizes Senator from Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, we are in Harford County. This bill establishes a gift basket permit containing alcohol in Harford County, as several other jurisdictions have done. There were two amendments. The first makes a technical change to the purpose paragraph. The second requires the holder of the permit to be subject to specified alcohol awareness training requirements. I move the amendment and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the two committee amendments and the favorable committee report. Question on the amendments. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The two committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the favorable committee report is amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 390 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 426, Senator Ferguson, Baltimore City, 46th District Alcoholic Beverages Licenses, favorable with two amendments.
Good luck explaining this one. Chair recognizes Senator from Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have to know the streets in Baltimore City for this one. So, this bill authorizes a holder of a Class 9 limited distillery license who also holds a Class D 6-day beer and wine liquor license and is located on the 4200 block of East Pratt Street to apply to the Baltimore City License Commissioners to convert to an existing Class D BWL license into a Class D 7-day BWL license. The bill also authorizes the board to issue a Class D beer and light wine license for an establishment in Ward 26, Precinct 8 on the west side of the 1200 block of South Haven Street that has executed a memorandum of understanding with Brewers Hill neighborhood. The bill takes effect July 1st, 2021. There were two amendments. The first is technical. The second authorizes the commissioner to issue a Class B license to a business in a specified area of Baltimore City. The second repeals provision of a law authorizing the board to issue a Class B BWL license and repeals the sunset provision by the board to issue a specified license in Chapter 676, 677 of 2019. It was passed out unanimously. I move the amendment and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the two committee amendments and the favorable committee report. Question on the amendments? Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The two committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 426 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 489, Senator Bidle, Anne Arundel County Alcoholic Beverages Class MT License, favorable with 3 amendments.
Chair recognizes Senator from Anne Arundel.
Thank you. It's movie time in Anne Arundel County. Senate Bill 489 is a local alcohol bill that passed unanimously. The bill establishes a Class MT movie theater beer and wine license in Anne Arundel County. The county board may issue a license to the owner of a movie theater in the county that holds controlled crowd training certification. The license authorizes the sale of beer and wine for on-premise consumption as specified. There were 3 amendments. The first is technical. The second strikes a prohibition on allowing the consumption of beer and wine in public viewing area, adds language limiting patrons to a single serving of beer and wine at a time with a maximum of 2 servings per day. The third amendment requires the holder of an alcoholic beverage license for a movie theater in our county, in Anne Arundel County, to renew the license to a Class MT beer and wine, as many other jurisdictions have done. I move the amendment and favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the 3 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. Question on the amendments. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The 3 committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 489 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 490, Senator Bidle, Anne Arundel County Board of License Commissioners, Chief Inspector, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes Senator from Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Mr. President. In Anne Arundel County, we have a part-time chief inspector. This bill will make that a full-time position. They set up a pay grade for them, and there were 2 amendments. The first is technical. The second strikes language in the current law authorizing the board to employ a part-time chief inspectors and alters the salary specifications to a new full-time chief inspector. I move the amendment and favorable committee report.
All right, floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. Question on the amendments. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 490 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 715, Senator Caroso, Wetumpka County Alcoholic Beverages, repeal of food sales requirement for Class B golf course license, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes the Senator from Anne Arundel.
Thank you. This is Wycomico County. The holder of a Class Beer, Wine, and Liquor golf course license must have a daily average receipts from the sale of food for each month that exceeds average daily receipts from the sale of alcohol. This repeals that requirement. There were 2 amendments. The first makes technical a change. The second one authorizes a Class A beer, wine, and liquor license holder to sell alcoholic beverages on Sunday between 6 a.m. to midnight. I move the amendment and favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. Question is on the 2 committee amendments. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 715 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 755, Senator Hayes, Baltimore City, 40th District Alcoholic Beverages, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes the Senator from Anne Arundel.
Thank you. This is for Baltimore City. This bill generally restricts license holders in the 40th Alcoholic Beverage District in Baltimore City from selling alcoholic beverages before 10 a.m. and after 10 p.m. Specified classes of license are exempt from the restriction on hours. The bill additionally authorized Baltimore City Board of License Commissioners to issue 2 Class C beer, wine, and liquor licenses in the 40th Alcoholic Beverages District as specified. Takes effect July 1st, 2021. There were 2 amendments. The first one makes technical changes to the purpose paragraph. The second authorizes the board to issue a Class BD7 license instead of a Class C BWL license. Secondly, establish boundaries in the area for which the license holder may sell the alcohol. I move the amendment and the favorable committee report.
So the question is on the two amendments and the favorable committee report. Are there any questions? Seeing none, the favorable committee report, nope. The two committee amendments and the favorable report, nope. First, the two committee amendments are adopted. Question on the favorable committee report. All in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report with amendments is adopted. Any further amendments to the bill or to its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 755 is ordered printed for third reader. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 944, Senator Simonera, Anne Arundel County Alcoholic Beverage Licenses, Annual Fees, favorable with two amendments.
Chair recognizes the floor leader.
Thank you. Congratulations being up there. You threw me for a loop. I thought the voice was changing.
I threw me for a loop too.
Okay, this is a bill in Anne Arundel County, great sponsor. So what this bill does is Senate Bill 944 is a local bill passed unanimously. The bill requires Anne Arundel County Board of License Commissioners to reimburse each local holder of a county license for the entire amount over the next 2 years. There were two amendments. The first alters the bill's title and purpose paragraphs and makes an emergency measure. The second limits the bill's requirements to Class B, C, D, and H licenses and requires the board to reimburse them over a 2-year period. I move the amendment and the favorable committee report.
Okay, the question is on the two committee amendments and the favorable committee report. First, are there any questions on the two committee amendments? Seeing none, the two committee amendments are adopted. Now, are there any questions on the favorable committee report as amended? All in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. The favorable committee report with amendments is adopted. Are there any other amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 944 is here ordered printed for third reader. Clerk will read the next
Madam
bill.
Pro Tem.
Oh, yep.
If we could, they were all unanimous, so if we could have calendar 21 become a consent calendar for third reader.
Is there any objection to the calendar being listed or voted out as a third reader, as a consent calendar? Okay, seeing none, it'll be so ordered. Thank you. Mr. President, you may have the bridge.
Well, the President Pro Tem missed the message that I tried to hand her saying we were supposed to adjourn, sine die. That was, all right. We've got another consent calendar here on alcohol bills. This is number 22. The clerk will read the first bill. Actually, it's a consent calendar, so let's do this. Senators, please, we'll recognize the floor leader on the consent calendar, and then we'll take it from there. So Chair recognizes the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. These are all local alcohol bills with no amendments and passed unanimously, and would like to have them on a consent calendar. Answer any questions if they had any.
All right, Senators, please take a moment, take a look at the bills. Are there any that Senators wish to separate out? If not, give it just a second to scroll through a number of bills here. All local, no amendments. All right, question is on the favorable committee report for the consent calendar. All in favor of the report say aye, opposed nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. There are no amendments because we've got a consent calendar. So consent calendar number 2 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. All right, well, let's go. I think that should clear us in EHE. All right, EHE, we have gotten through. And we missed one earlier. This was the special order. So if there are no objections, we've got the special order calendar 28. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 9, Senator Kramer, State Employees, Collective Bargaining, Applicability, Bargaining Processes, and Memorandums of Understanding. Question is on the adoption of the favorable report.
All right, Senators, the question is on the report. Any discussion on the report? If not, All in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill. Chair recognizes the senator from District 1.
No amendment.
Senator has an amendment. The senator could read the amendment number, please.
423/1.
423. We know the numbers for tonight. 1 second here. Senator may explain the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, very simply what this amendment does, it says that this section does not apply with respect to the bargaining unit that consists of eligible exempt employees as described in Federal Fair Labor Standards Act. There's eligible exempt and non-exempt. I've been, the sponsor of the bill mentioned something the other day, kind of caught my attention when he said a lot of our state departments where we have bargaining negotiations, they can transfer to different parts of the state or whatever. I think implying that under this they could do that in the higher education institutions. I'm not sure that's quite right, and maybe I misunderstood what he said, because I don't see where opening comes up, let's say at Bowie, for position A, and someone at Frostburg's in position A, or B, and a position A would be an upgrade, and they could transfer to Bowie. I don't think it works quite that way in there, where it's a little different than correctional officers and those where people do transfer from different sites because that's the way it's set up. Now, I supported way back whenever we instituted that the state employees could bargain. I supported that. I think it was appropriate, and I do think that management, whether it's the government or whatever, needs to treat employees fairly, and that goes over to state government also, and they need to treat employees very, very fairly. The difference here and why to exempt these, this is more like these eligible exempt are more like a cabinet to a president of a university. And I think there's 5 universities in this bill throughout the state, mainly in the metropolitan area. I think Frostburg's in. I can't remember. Don't see it right here in front of me whether the University of Maryland, the Eastern Shore is in it or not. The economics are different in each part of the state, and these institutions, to a degree, are economic engines in those parts of the state. And if you allow for this particular thing, because these positions are positions that the president of the university or whomever, because the economics are different, need different, sometimes different degrees of eligibility to become an employee of that institution. Therefore, it would make it very difficult, in my opinion, for the chancellor to be the one to negotiate with those people, when it would be a heck of a lot simpler for the president or his staff at the university to be able to negotiate with those people. And there is somewhat of a difference in the two groups. So I just think that I have no problem with the chancellor negotiating for the one group, but I think the other group should be left up to the local presidents or whomever they dictate that does the negotiation, be able to do negotiations there. They still would have to negotiate, be a little different scenario though in how they do it. And I can tell you that I hear most of the universities would prefer to have this amendment on there. So I would ask for your support of the amendment. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Senators move the amendment. Chair recognizes the floor leader.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I think there may be some confusion as to what the bill does and does not do. Under the bill, there is nothing with regard at all to those people who are working directly with a president of an institution. This bill relates exclusively to the people who keep the trains running at our universities. Now, there are 3 categories of bargaining units at the universities. There are non-exempt employees who typically are the hourly workers. They're the folks who are the administrative assistants, the housekeepers, HVAC mechanics, bus drivers, those kinds of things. Then there are exempt. That's a category that includes salaried employees, accountants, admissions counselors, advisors, computer programmers, and analysts. They have nothing to do with advising the president of one of the institutions. The third category is sworn officers. Those are the 3 categories. Under the bill, it would allow, where there is commonality with the bargaining unit, to combine and bargain all of these categories together if there is a common bargaining unit. The amendment before us would break that apart into pieces for no reason at all. It defies logic. So the fact of the matter is, with this amendment, we got a significant part of this bill to no avail and go back to this notion of wasted time, effort, and energy negotiating across all these different contracts instead of consolidating, saving everybody time, money, and effort. And that money includes the costs that our taxpayers and our students pay to the universities to then each individually hire bargaining teams and outside counsel to negotiate 15 different contracts. It's not what we do at the state level across all of our agencies, and we shouldn't be doing it with the university. So I would ask you to please resist the amendment. It does not have anything to do at all with anyone advising the institution presidents, and it defeats the purpose of the bill. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. All right, question is on the Senator's amendment. Any further discussion on the amendment? If not, Senator requests a roll call vote. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? Chair recognizes Senator from District 6.
Thank you, Mr. President. Being in a union, the many years that I was in the union, I was in more than one union. And there was a very good reason for that. Because being a part of the steelworkers, I work with steelworkers. Being a part of the Brotherhood of the Railroad, they had a different union. And in all respects, they had that purposely to represent the right people. That's why they have so many different unions. And they work together, and they do it wisely. That's why they negotiate separately in different ways to make sure they get the right contract for those individuals. That's why I voted for this amendment. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. All right, any further senators wish to explain their vote? I broke the system, apparently. There it goes. All right, the clerk will take the call. With 32 votes in the negative, the senator's amendment fails. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 9 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. All right, let's get into the next, what do we have? Budget and tax, second readers. This is report number 13. We've done that. 13. All right, clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 240, Chair Budget and Taxation Committee, Maryland Information Technology Development Project Fund, sources of revenue, favorable.
Chair recognizes the senator from Baltimore City as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 240 is a departmental bill that excludes revenues collected from resource sharing agreements by the Maryland Department of Transportation from accruing to the Major Information Technology Development Project Fund within the Department of Information Technology. Instead, the revenues accrue to the Transportation Trust Fund. There are no amendments. Mr. President, move adoption of the committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion on the report? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 240 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 362, Senator McCray, Transportation and Highway User Revenues, Revenue and Distribution, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes the sponsor of the bill as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 362 is introduced, increases beginning in fiscal year 2025 the share of funds from the gasoline and motor vehicle revenue account that the Maryland Department of Transportation must annually provide to local governments through capital transportation grants. Under current law, the share of funds the local governments receive will automatically be reduced beginning in fiscal year 2025. Committee amendments. The first committee amendment makes technical changes. The second committee amendment repeals the reduction to the local share that will begin in fiscal year 2025. The amendment will allow the current local share percentages to continue for fiscal year 2025 in each fiscal year thereafter. Move adoption of the committee report, Mr. President.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of 2 committee amendments in the favorable committee report. Question now is on the amendments. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 362 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 376, Senator Kagan, Maryland Nonprofit Development Center Program, Nonprofit Interest-Free Micro-Bridge Loan Account Funding, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes the senator from Montgomery County as the floor leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Senate Bill 376 is dealing with a nonprofit interest-free micro-bridge loan. This was set up in 2017. As amended, it brings the program back to its current posture, but given the fact that nonprofits are in need of additional funds, this just adds $250,000 to that loan fund that needs to be paid back just for fiscal year 23. The Department of Commerce is really looking forward to highlighting this program and making sure that more nonprofits could benefit from this. There are 2 amendments. Number 1 just makes changes to the purpose and function paragraphs. And number 2, as I explained, it strikes the language as it was originally proposed and just adds the additional language that I mentioned. I would move the adoption. I would move the amendments and adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments in the favorable committee report. Question on the amendments. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 376 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 789, Senator McCray, Baltimore City, visit Baltimore, appropriation calculation, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes the sponsor of the bill as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 789 extends the requirement for Baltimore City to provide an annual appropriation to visit Baltimore from the city's hotel tax revenue through fiscal 2027 and alters the calculation of the appropriation to a 3-year rolling average of the hotel revenues. committee amendments. There are two committee amendments for this. The first makes changes to the purpose paragraph. The second alters the calculation to be based on the 3-year rolling average of the hotel tax revenues. Move adoption of the amendments and the favorable committee report, Mr. President.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the two committee amendments and the favorable committee report. Question on the amendments. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The two committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 789 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 883, Senator Gazzoni, tobacco tax, out-of-state sales of premium cigars and pipe tobacco, favorable with two amendments.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. 883, as amended, establishes that a person located outside of Maryland must be a licensed remote tobacco seller in order to sell premium cigars or pipe tobacco to consumers in the state. The bill clarifies the application of the tobacco tax, these sales, and makes various other modifications to the tobacco tax provisions as they apply to out-of-state sellers of premium cigars and pipe tobacco. There are two amendments. Amendment 1 makes technical changes. Amendment 2 maintains the applicability of the tax thresholds for out-of-state sellers of premium cigars and pipe tobacco, which is the Wayfair standard. Simply put, all this does is both out-of-state and in-state providers of and sellers of these products have been required to pay taxes. There was some confusion about how that was going to be handled. Actually, interestingly enough, the national organization folks came to us to clarify this. We worked with both the local and the national folks to ensure that everybody was in a good place. That's where this bill is. So I move the amendments in the committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the two committee amendments and the favorable committee report. Question on the amendments. Any discussion on the amendments? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The two committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Senator from 34th District.
Yeah, I'm just trying real quick for the floor leader, just if he would yield.
Floor leader yield. Senator may proceed.
So, and this is retail only, and the retailers in Maryland, no objection.
No
Okay,
what?
Thank you.
Yes, they've come to an agreement.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
All right. On the report, any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 883 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. All right, senators, I think we've hit the law of diminishing returns. So we are going to call it here. We had a big JPR morning, so we have left just this four JPR calendars that are second reader. We'll take them up as early as possible tomorrow. Let's just take a look quickly at calendar again. There's a lot coming, and I know there's a lot of voting sessions planned, which means we got a lot of second readers coming, which means we got a lot of third readers following, potentially. So we should probably hold tomorrow evening, and sadly, probably start to hold Saturday. We'll see where we get by Friday, but tomorrow evening, maybe a double session, and just start to think about Saturday. If there's something that is critical, it may need to be rescheduled, so just keep that in mind. All right, let's do committee reports. Chair recognizes announcements. The Chair of Finance Committee.
Finance will meet for bill hearings at 2:20.
2:20. Thank you, Madam Chair. Chair recognizes the Chair of Education, Health, and Environmental Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. President. EHE will meet at 2:45 for bill hearings, followed by another voting session.
All right, pushing through. Chair recognizes the Chair of Budget and Tax.
Thank you, Mr. President. Voting today at 4 and then again at 8:30 tomorrow morning.
All right, off B&T goes. Chair recognizes the Chair of Judicial Proceedings.
Thank you, Mr. President. JPR will meet at 2:45 for bill hearings, followed by a voting session.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right, other announcements, standing select committees, protocol?
Protocol.
Yes, Senator may proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, since it is St. Patrick's Day, we have a little top hat for you. And because of our sanitation request, we can't put it on your desk, so please pick it up as you leave the chamber. And happy St. Patrick's Day.
Thank you so much. And yes, Senators, it is out there on the desk, so please, when you're leaving, feel free to grab. We thank the Protocol Committee. All right, any other announcements, delegations, select committees? Anything else for the good of the order? If not, let's do a quorum call before we adjourn.
Mr. President?
Oh, I'm sorry. So if we strike that, Chair recognizes the Senator from Baltimore City, Baltimore County.
Thank you, Mr. President. I had a constituent reach out to me yesterday and wanted me to ensure, and I told her I would do this, she wanted to make certain that we recognize that the University of Maryland women's basketball team recently won the Big Ten Conference regular season and won the Big Ten Conference tournament, and that the head coach, Brenda Freese, was named Big Ten Coach of the Year. In addition, the Lady Terps are number 2 seeded in the NCAA's tournament that begins next week. So I told her I would make certain that we recognize that, and I'm carrying through with my word. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much for bringing that to our attention. Excellent observation. Lady Terps are rocking and rolling. They're ready to roll. All right. Now I think we're ready for a quorum call.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. With 46 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland remains in session. Chair recognizes the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate of Maryland stand adjourned until Thursday, March 18th at 10:30 a.m. in memory of those who lost their lives in Georgia last night.
Without objection, so ordered. Stay safe, wear your mask. When available, get that vaccine.